Both my parents come from science backgrounds, so it's always been a little bit of a challenge trying to explain to them what I do as a strategist. But recently, after I built my portfolio, I sent them a link and said, hey, let me know what you think of it. And I was expecting them, to comment on the design or the aesthetics. But instead, my mom said, now I finally get why you've been asking me all these random questions about life and death and my feelings about my body wash. It all makes sense. And I think that's the point of a strategy portfolio. It needs to help people, even those that know nothing about our industry, to understand why we think the way we think. The concept of a portfolio originated in Renaissance Italy, where artists and architects would collate and document their work to show potential clients. Even Leonardo da Vinci had a portfolio, not just of his art, but he had 7,000 pages of notes about his ideas, his observations, and learnings, also known as strategy. Da Vinci often combined his learnings from two or more disciplines that typically didn't go together to create his masterpieces. For example, his obsessive dissection of cadavers gave him an understanding of the human body beneath the skin, which helped him create some of the most iconic works in human history. And I know some of you might disagree, but in my opinion, I think Da Vinci was more of a strategist than he was an artist. Similarly, I'm sure many of you found your way into strategy after taking a few life pivots. But this just means that you have so many more perspectives to share. And having a portfolio in these situations really comes in handy because it helps you tell a story of how all these life experiences shape the way you think. It's not always easy to explain these pivots in a resume. For example, I moved from engineering to copywriting and then to strategy. Pretty crazy, right? But having a portfolio really helped me paint a picture of how I could be more creative and logical in my thinking and be a better strategist. So having an About Me section on your website could really help you tell your story and help you stand out. Now, if you think you have a background that's not worth highlighting, don't worry. There's so much more you can do with the portfolio to showcase your thinking. Someone once told me that anyone could be a strategist as long as they had these three qualities: insatiable curiosity, a deep sense of empathy, and a strong point of view. So it's really up to you to bring these qualities to life in whatever way you'd like. If it means talking about why you loved or hated or love-hated the Tiger King documentary, that right there shows your point of view. If you analyze the lyrics of your favorite rap song, that shows that you are curious about culture and want to learn more about it. If you took the time to understand the perspectives of a misunderstood subculture, that shows that you have a true sense of empathy. You could bring these learnings to life through a documentary, a zine, an Instagram page, a TikTok page. There's just so many formats that you can play around with and compile into one single link if you have a portfolio. While this should typically convince recruiters that you have those strategy skills, sometimes they do expect you to have case studies. Now, I mentioned that Da Vinci had a 7,000-page portfolio, but according to Google Analytics, recruiters don't spend more than 2.5 minutes on your website. So here are a few tips that really helped me when I was writing my cases. 1. Have a concise but engaging summary at the beginning of your case. Make every word matter. For example, I worked on a project where I redesigned the funeral experience. I started with an interesting headline, "The TaskRabbit of Funeral Services." Then I threw in a few provocative questions. Have you ever thought about who's going to give you your last shave? This pulls them in and makes them want to read more. Then I stated my problem, the approach, and the solution in one sentence each. 2. Your case should typically be about 2 to 3 scrolls long. If you have a more detailed process where you've included personas or journey maps or other strategy artifacts, just hyperlink those documents. If you're taking someone through it during an interview, it really helps them understand how thoughtful you've been about the work. For example, in this funeral home project, my design process was pretty exhaustive. So I decided to hyperlink the PDF and my working prototype just in case they were interested in looking at it. 3. Highlight your process. A lot of times strategy work is done in teams, but recruiters want to know what your approach was. For example, I was working on a project related to polarization in America, and I decided to go on a date with someone of opposing political beliefs just to get their perspective. Now that's something that was unique to me and my approach. 4. Don't forget to use visuals. Visuals are as important as words in strategy. Whether it's a framework or just a great inspiring image, having visuals to bring your case to life is really key to having an engaging portfolio. For example, instead of just having a boring table, my friends created this beautiful user journey to make all this information more digestible. 5. You don't have to follow a single template when writing your cases. For example, every case doesn't have to have a problem, an insight, an edge, and a strategy. Instead, you could have a challenge, an opportunity, a human truth, a category truth, a from-to statement, a we thought this, but we found this statement. Just play around with it. To sum it up, 1. Start your case with an engaging summary. 2. Hyperlink your documents so that they have the option to look at it if they want to. 3. Highlight your process. It's more valuable than you think it is. 4. Bring your case to life through beautiful visuals. 5. Don't feel the need to stick to one template when writing a case. After all, it's strategy and there's not one way to go about it. And don't start writing your case directly on your website, whether you're using Wix or Squarespace or Cargo like the cool kids these days. It's often easy to get caught up in the design when writing your cases. So just open a good old Google document, type it all up there, and then transfer it. Finally, what I love about having a strategy portfolio is that it's a measure of how you've grown as a strategist. Sometimes I'm even embarrassed to go back to my portfolio from last year, and that's not a bad thing. It's a representation of your story, your thinking, and how it's evolving with you.